Welcome aboard. This is the Miles to Go podcast. And now here's your host, Ed Pizza.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Miles to Go podcast. As we close in on Christmas, Mr. Kerr and I have 2 episodes left in this calendar year. Although maybe it's technically 1. I don't know. I got to look at the calendar and see, Mr. Kerr. Before I get into a rundown of what we're going to be talking about today, how the heck are you?
We exchanged texts early this morning at recording about you finally have joined the utterly and completely exhausted club.
Yes, I got there.
Which was me. I got home from New York. Was that just yesterday time recording? Yeah. And man, I tell you what, it was a lot. 2 weeks in a row in New York to kind of wrap up before the holidays. I'm still too old to stay out that late at the Bill holiday party. I have to quit doing that. But you know, man, I'm ready for a couple days off, hopefully.
I do need to address that too, and I will in just a second. But a quick tee up on what we're going to hope to discuss today. We're going to hope to discuss Venetian joining World of Hyatt. I also have an interesting little tidbit that I learned on Hyatt and their new Milestone rewards that I think is interesting. Probably need to confirm with those folks. Centurion Lounge in Atlanta behaving badly. We've got an IHG status offer that's an interesting one that Mr. Kerr and I are going to talk through. We've got a listener question from the Slack group and then a listener question from email as well. So, yeah, to your point, I ended up coming home a little bit early from my last trip, utterly exhausted, like hit the wall firmly. All week it was like my eye was twitching. I just didn't feel great. It was like, man, the engine is fully run down. But where was I? I was in Vegas. And I was up late for my first night in Vegas because we had an employee party. So it was, it had to be close to midnight my time in Vegas. And lo and behold, Mr. Kerr launches, I think you launched a tweet. I don't think you texted me. I think you launched a tweet about something. And
I launched a tweet about the Amex Lounge failing the health inspection. There
you go. Wait, good podcaster segue. Yeah. And I'm like, it's 2:45 in the morning. What the heck is Kerr doing awake? Like, did you wake up? Because I had a couple of times where I've asked you about this, and you're like, yeah, I woke up. The kids woke up, and I couldn't get back to sleep. And your answer was, no, I haven't been to bed yet.
Here's my problem. No matter what time the evening's activities are done, I cannot just go back to the hotel room and fall asleep. Even this late at night, I got back a little bit after 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, I still have to wind down, especially from what is always a very loud built party environment. We have that aspect of our parties down. So I'm just, I take an hour and I cruise the news, and that's when I saw the Amex Lounge thing, and I just still have to wind down no matter what time it is.
Yeah, no, I hear that, and I'm sure that was that was one of those stacking things that helped make this week feel especially crushing. Maybe it was the understanding that you're just a couple of days away from being able to take some time off the road, but all those things really added up to both of us having that tail end of this week where we're just running on fumes as we get to the end of the year. We always joke around, oh my gosh, it's my last flight of the year, knowing that the next one is in 2 weeks. But I got to tell you, I don't recall a time where I felt as happy as I do right now to know that there are no planes in my immediate future.
I'm trying to actually plan a plane in my immediate future for New Year's, but it's for fun.
You were talking about
trying to plan for fun. And yeah, I think I just sat on the ball a little bit too much. Maybe subconsciously my psyche was like, don't do it, man. But that's like, as time of recording, it's still 9 days away. I got 9 days to sit here at home and, recoup. And then I think I'll be ready to go again.
I got a for fun question as well. If we get there, if we have time, I just wrote down the list to get to it that involves a potential fun flight for me coming up in the new year. But a little housekeeping, and let's jump into these topics. If you want to text us or leave us a voicemail, 571-293-6659. He is at Kerr Points on all of those social media channels. I am at Pizza in Motion. The show is the at Miles to Go podcast on TikTok and Instagram. As of time of recording, TikTok is still alive. And you can also email ed@pizzainmotion.com, which is a good place to start. We're going to cover an email from Jim, who's one of our listeners. He says, Ed, I heard you say that you had been to Lisbon multiple times on the podcast. I'm looking at going there in June or July of 2025, possibly out of Chicago, but we can't locate anywhere to fly to Portugal. I'm having some difficulty finding a good deal for 2 using tools like Points Yeah or Point Me. What should I be paying points-wise? And so he's thinking about trying to fly business class. So a couple of things I'd say here, and then curious for your opinions. I think, so Lisbon as a whole, I know he said he wanted business class, but as a whole, I think you're going to see 30 to 40,000 points or miles if you're flying United or TAP from the U.S. for any of those destinations in coach. And if you're getting a good deal, you're probably going to see 100,000 miles one way for those flights. Now, personally, what I would do if I was looking for business class, instead of trying to spend $100,000 and find that availability on United, because more often than not, on the peak dates now, I'm seeing rates more like 200 or 250,000 miles for one-way business class. I think this is really where Air France comes in, given you're going to take an extra connection because you're going to have to go through Charles de Gaulle. But I do see a reasonable amount of availability pop up from time to time with some of their cheaper flights, well below 100,000 miles one way, in business class on what I believe to be a pretty solid product. Only downside is you're connecting instead of going straight there. Last point I would make is specifically for this destination, depending on what type of trip you're going to travel, it could make sense to pay cash, especially if you had flexible points like Capital One that you could use to burn down the ticket price. Because two things. First off, TAP has some really aggressively priced business class tickets, and they also allow free stopovers on business class tickets. So you could really turn it into 2 trips for the price of 1 ticket. So I'm going to shut up and see what Mr. Kerr says.
One, echo the same thing on economy or business class fares. TAP is really trying to make their mark in the U.S. with cheap fares. So take a look. Second, I'm going to make it really easy for you. You don't have Rome.travel, ROAME, and you go to their Skyview, guarantee people have searched enough where they have 1 million cache results for Chicago to Lisbon, and do a very quick search there, and you can just find the lowest prices that exist, and you can keep checking it all in one search. Rome Skyview, man, I don't think, Ed, now you hadn't even talked about this, but Rome Skyview has really taken over all of the other tools for me and their ability to search. I guess the third thing I would say is I don't think any of these tools look at TAP's own program. Somebody can call me out if that's not true. And they probably have, like all programs, more availability on their own metal than anybody else in partners. So go sign up for a TAP Miles program, Miles Go, I think, and then check out their own website, which is very easy to use.
It is, and you're right. There aren't a lot of the sites that track TAP's own program. And I actually have had a note. We're going to do a best of episode to close out the end of the year, which technically drops on the first of the year. But I think we should do a review of tools, what you and I are using over the course of the next, 3 or 4 weeks, do an episode on things that you like and things that that you're using on a frequent basis. Because I'm sort of dealing with this now, trying to figure out how to get to Japan in April. And am I using PointsPath? Am I using Seats.aero? Am I using PointMe? Like, there's all these different things out there, and they all have different uses. And to your point, I don't think I've spent any time on Skyview for Rome. So I'd be interested to hear your perspective on it. So, Jim, hope that helps you from a directional standpoint on where to go. You're certainly a great time to go to Lisbon, but also going to be a pricey time to find tickets there.
Can I take us down a rabbit hole for just 30 seconds?
I love rabbit holes.
I always refer to the lowest class on an airplane as economy now. I haven't said coach in a very long time, but you just said it now, and it reminded me again that some other people said it, and I was like, okay, where the heck did coach come from? And I was like, we've called things coaches for a long time, so let me just enlighten everybody a little bit thanks to my old friend Claude.ai. But the word coach comes from the Hungarian word kocsy, which means carriage of coach. This is the village of Kocs, was known in Hungary for producing high-quality carriages in the 15th century. The carriages were known for being fast, light, flexible, and relatively comfortable. So a Hungarian village, ladies and gentlemen, is where coach comes from. You're welcome for that rabbit hole here on the Miles to Go podcast.
And this is what I love about you, because you just said that with such authority, and it could be utter, it could be 30 seconds of utter lies. So
you have to take that up with the artificial intelligence. That wasn't me. I don't make the rules. I just follow them. So,
in honor of my son who went to school today dressed as Buddy the Elf, I can't tell if you're the smartest man in the world or if you're built on a throne of lies. I'm just going to leave it right there.
A lot of built employees are probably wondering the same thing all the time. Like, he really seems like he knows what he's talking about, but maybe he's just overly confident. I don't know.
All right, so next up, Mr. Kerr, is a question for you, because I haven't been yet, and this comes from our Slack community, Dr. Phil, one of our Slack members. For folks who don't know, we have a monthly community that you can join, monthly fee or annual fee, a couple bucks a month to join, or you can sign up for an annual membership. That helps us produce the video part of the show, which means you get to look at Richard and I. So, pluses and minuses there. But we got a great community there, a bunch of different Slack channels where we answer questions on an ongoing basis. You can get help with projects you're trying to work on. You can even schedule a 15-minute time block with me to help get advice on an upcoming trip. That's a new feature. Yeah, aren't you reading the threads? Yeah,
I am, but I think between you and I, there's about 1,000 Slacks a day, so I do my best.
Yeah, so the newest thing we rolled out, some people told me that they just didn't feel confident asking questions during the Zoom happy hours, like with a big crowd. So I'm just testing this for now, but essentially I'm going to try and do 4 a week where I'll block a 15-minute session, hop on Zoom, answer whatever questions you have. So it's a one-on-one, get your question answered. I can't do 30 minutes or an hour because, as you well know, Richard, neither one of us really sleeps. So
I don't. I can't. First of all, it is so nice that there's no way that you're cutting people off at 15 minutes, man. Like whatever.
I'm sure going to try.
You're going to spend way more time than that with people. That's Ed's time is obviously massively valuable from the day job and from the knowledge. So if you guys are able to do that by joining the Slack community, probably the best couple bucks you're going to spend.
All right. So Dr. Phil's question is right up your alley. Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I may have misheard you. You've been to New York lately?
I've been, guilty.
Got it. Okay. All right. So if you've been lately, he wants to know, is the Sapphire Lounge at LaGuardia worth a terminal detour? And in parentheses, he says a 2-hour layover. He also has Sky Club and Centurion Lounge access.
Okay. Short answer is no. If you have Sky Club access and you're going to LaGuardia and you're asking to be a different terminal, I imagine that means you're flying out of C in the new terminal, which is the Delta terminal and Delta only. In order to go to Centurion or Chase Sapphire Lounge, which are actually the entrances right next to each other over in Terminal B, it's a hike, man. Those terminals are big now. You got to go through security.
You do have to change security. You have to go through security again, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go through security. Then you have to go back out, walk all the way over to C, which is not a short walk to go to that security, and then a pretty lengthy walk depending on where your Delta flight is going to be taking off in Terminal C. I mean, it can be a hike there. So absolutely not. I've flown Delta the last few times, the last couple of weeks in and out of LaGuardia, and there's just no way I would make a trek over to go to either Centurion or Chase Sapphire. Sky Club in LaGuardia, dude, is going to have a line. It's moved semi-quickly so far, but it's going to have a line even though it's massive. So just suck it up, wait the 10 minutes in line, and go in the Sky Club. And honestly, the Sky Club food is not any worse than Chase Sapphire. Chase Sapphire, man, they try and just do too much there, in my opinion. That's hot take here is like everybody's like, oh, the food. I'm like, they try so hard there that some people, like, you're not going to eat most of the stuff that they try because it's just kind of like weird. Centurion Lounge, if they have protein, it's going to be chicken thighs, period, the end. That's it. That's all they're going to have. So Sky Club's better anyway, so just go over Sky Club. Stay and see.
Yeah, and I do want to talk, it's a great transition to Centurion Lounge topic that you had in the list, but right before we get to it, just a quick question, and it's just one of those like, gosh, I wonder why. So I think we both agree the new LaGuardia is as big an improvement as you could make over an airport as we've probably ever seen.
Period.
But I wonder why they didn't build in some sort of a connection, even if it was a bus, to get back and forth airside.
There's just not, I mean, there's not enough room, man. Like it's kind of funny
to
say based on how big that they built those terminals. It's funny to say there's not room, but I don't even know how you would get down. The traffic there is pretty compact. Like I don't think they thought it was worth their time. And unfortunately, it's one of those airports where if you're not flying out of B, you miss everything except the Sky Club. So
yeah,
I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, that's to say. Like I do think that the B terminal is, where you'd want to quote unquote be, no pun intended. So it would be helpful to have a connector. But yeah, anyway, never contemplated that until just this moment. All right, let's transition into Centurion Lounge because this was the genesis of me wondering why the heck you were awake. You want to tee this one up, Mr. Kerr?
I will, yeah. The MX Centurion Lounge in Concourse E in Atlanta opened earlier this year, and it has been very crowded. I have been only 3 times that I can think of, and I'll be honest, like it was crowded. You got to wait in a line. They have a lot of outdoor seating, but in Atlanta in July, you don't want to sit outdoors. And then I'll be honest, I remember thinking this now, that it was kind of sticky. There's the way I would describe it. Like it wasn't gross. It wasn't dirty. It was just like the bar area was very sticky, just kind of a sticky setup. And it turns out their inspection on December 10th, 2024, they scored a 69U. We'll go through a couple of the things that they got wrong really that knocked them off, but I'll tell you what is most infuriating about this to me. And if you know me at all, my friends and Emily, and people are going to laugh because I'm a stickler for health inspections. Goes back to my Navy days where I was in charge of all the food on the submarine. If you get a submarine crew sick underwater, you potentially ruin a national security mission. And I just take health. It's just, I don't know. It's my Navy PTSD I carry around with me is I will look at a health inspection score every single time before I choose a restaurant. And here is what I cannot stand about what happened here. They were inspected June 3rd of this year. They scored a 71C, so 2 points from failing. Their next inspection, what did management do? Ensure that they got the exact same 71C, i.e. management does not care. And then on the third inspection this year, the health inspector finally says, that's enough. I'm failing you guys, because I would imagine that they gave him a 71 twice in a row, probably for a little political purposes. So the fact that you go 3 inspections in a row and the people in charge do not care, that is all I need to know. I am out. I'm not going. Management doesn't care. I don't care enough. I'm not paying a $695 annual fee on the Platinum card right now, business or personal, and I will not, specifically for this lounge. Because if the people in charge do not care about not getting customers sick 3 inspections in a row, then choice explicit words for you, I'm out. And it drives me nuts.
All right, so a couple of things from a nerdy restaurant standpoint, because
this is your world. This is your day job.
It is. All right, so some of the things that they cited. So build up in ice machines. You and I talked about this one. This is a tough one. I mean, I would say, I hate to say it this way, like, whenever I've taken over a restaurant from someone else, the ice machines are always filthy. We really break down and maintain our ice machines on a pretty aggressive basis, but ice machines are they are.
Who does not ever put ice in their drink outside of my house? This guy, for that reason, because I know they're disgusting.
Yeah,
probably not drinking out of the soda machine either, because all of those nozzles are just full of black goo.
Yeah, so like I think like ice machines are one of those things where they are absolutely petri dishes, and they're tough things to keep clean. They note food left uncovered, which is a fairly vague one. I don't know what that means, but presence of flies in the main bar. So that to me, like if you see flies around a restaurant, for at least for most health inspectors, to cite that in an inspection, it needs to be a pretty bad problem.
Yeah, this wasn't an obscure fly that flew in the door.
Exactly right. Yeah. So, and it's been a repeat violation, which means they haven't dealt with it. And flies, like, look, it can be an annoying thing, but I think, as you know, it's not like there's a lot of like screen doors in airline clubs. So they have the ability to fix this. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why the health department was so stringent on them. But I have good news for you, Mr. Kerr. I have good news for you. The Centurion Lounge was re-inspected and allowed to reopen. And instead of a 69, they improved their score. And I want you to know, they improved it to an 83. And this, to me, is really where I just take a stop and go, okay, hold on a second. I can't. So I can recall one time.
You know the test is coming.
Right, exactly.
You know the test. You know the questions. You know it's coming, and you still do not care.
Got an 83. Yeah. So the only time I can ever remember getting an 80 anything on a health inspection was when we misinterpreted a local ordinance, and we had, like, our employees had to have health cards, and we had to have a signed copy of a form on file in the restaurant. And the health inspector docked us for both of those things because we had a couple employees who didn't have their health cards with them, even though we had proof that they had gotten their health card. Their card wasn't with them that day. So we got cited for that, and we got cited for not having these signed forms. It's the only time I've ever really scored in the 80s on a health inspection that I can recall, or gotten a substandard score. It's hard to get an 83 on a health inspection.
There's so many. This is like, when I saw this, that's why I tweeted it, and that's why I was still awake, because then I was spun all up again, because
you spun up. Come on,
I cannot understand repeat violations. Why would I go and patron somewhere or give a company money that does not care? That's an absolute game stopper for me right there.
All right, let's switch to happier stuff, man. So a little bit of background for folks about Vegas, one of those places I go a lot. For fans of my favorite hotel brand, Hyatt, there's been this sort of roller coaster ride where back in call it 2014, 2015, somewhere in there, Hyatt signed this partnership with MGM, and all the MGM properties were now eligible for earning and redeeming World of Hyatt points. Like, great. Like, this is, a bunch of people ended up getting status. There was some, as you and I both know, there were some shenanigans with like cheap Excalibur stays and stuff like that. Anyway, moral of the story was the MGM properties moved away from the Hyatt partnership, and they moved to Marriott. In the interim, what did we get instead? We got the Rio, which, some people have ragged on the Rio. I'm going to say, I don't think it's as bad as some people make it out to be. Is it a great hotel? I mean, it's not a great hotel. It's also like $30 a night. So So I think you get plenty of value. I think the people who are trying to like take 6 breakfasts home with them are, part of the problem there. I think the Rio is perfectly fine for what it is. The only downside is it's just one property in Vegas. And there's, a couple of Hyatt places as well, but not a lot of Hyatt exposure in Vegas until recent announcement just a couple days ago that both the Venetian and Palazzo, which just severed their partnership with IHG, will now be joining World of Hyatt, which I think is a great addition to the program.
Excellent, man. Excellent. I never was able to redeem IHG points from Vegas. I just didn't go there often enough. And anytime I look at the cash rates, it's not an inexpensive place to stay.
Right.
So I'm very much looking forward to this. I've gone to those casinos many, many times, in the shops of Venetian and a few restaurants and stuff. Cool place. And if you can use a reasonable amount of Hyatt points to stay there on the Strip, then now we're talking again. Do they give us any other details, timelines, what brand they're going to join? Are they going to stay separate? Nothing too much tangible right now.
Not much yet. We got soon on when they're joining, and my guess is it's going to be like Unbound Collection or something like that. Like I don't think it'll be a new brand. They've certainly got plenty of brands at this point. They're definitely catching up to the Joneses on number of brands.
Yeah.
So, but no, I don't know what brand, but I have to imagine it's going to be like Unbound or something like that. Destination, I don't know, something like that.
Looking forward to it. How goes the renovation on the Rio, by the way? Are it still cranking away floor by floor, or are they done? What's going on there?
Yeah, so non-renovated rooms has disappeared as a category from the website, or at least it had disappeared the last time I looked. I don't think that means that all the rooms are renovated. I think it just means that based on their current demand, they have enough renovated rooms to satisfy all the demand. There, one of the new bars opened up, like the main lobby bar got opened up and renovated. There's a whiskey bar-ish sort of thing behind it that was renovated and opened. There's a whole bunch of stuff off to the right that's still under construction. The old VIP lounge, and there's like an Indian restaurant and some of the pool area. So definitely still ongoing construction. My guess would be by the time the pool opens, come pool season, like late March, early April, it'll be in good shape at that point, those outdoor areas. So, making progress, and they a pretty decent sized pool complex. So
I foresee a few more Vegas conventions in my future 2025. So I'll have to finally check it out.
Yeah, and I would say, like, for what it's worth, knowing that the Venetian and the Palazzo are in the program, unless the rates are completely wacko, I nothing wrong with the Rio, but I would likely choose Venetian or Palazzo. I really do enjoy those properties for a couple reasons. One, I think there's some great food choices in both properties. A lot of conventions are there, so easier to stay on site and be able to take the elevator downstairs. And it's just like the vibe on the properties. The rooms are great, like sunken living room, decent sized rooms, a whole bit. So as long as they're affordable, either for cash or points, which they weren't under the IHG program, I'd be a buyer. So
let me ask you an off the wall question here.
Wait, well, rabbit hole to off the wall. Got it. All right, I have it mapped out. Go.
Well, it's not a rabbit hole. It's just very applicable to the conversation, but you weren't expecting this, and I wasn't expecting to ask this. But as I think about potential destinations for Mrs. Kerr and I without kids to just chill for a little bit, should Vegas be on the list?
For this New Year's trip?
Yeah.
I think so, and here's why. I'd say 2 reasons why. First off, I think Vegas is so much more than casinos nowadays. I think some of the shows are great. Absinthe is one of those great shows.
Yeah, she has no interest in casinos whatsoever. It's just
but Vegas doesn't really have to be a casino. Yeah. Obviously, incredible food. You've been to Zuma with me, so great food stuff. There's a bunch of stuff to do, like out in the desert, like go Hoover Dam, all that other stuff. There's some like indoor excursion-y sort of things, Area 15, Meow Wolf, that sort of stuff that are like a lot of fun.
What is Meow Wolf?
It's hard to describe. It's like a indoor shopping market maze / scavenger huntish thing. Meow Wolf Las Vegas. Just Google it. Trust me.
Check it out. I didn't even consider that. But if I'm looking for a place to just chill.
And I think I don't know this because I haven't looked at New Year's rates, but demand is down a bit in Vegas right now. I just paid $80 a night for Resorts World, and I would bet. Yeah, I know. $80 a night for Conrad, but this is not even Hilton. $80 a night for Conrad. Yeah, insane rate. I am curious now as we look at it. I'm just going to look up Resorts World while we're talking and just see what their rate is for like the New Year's Eve weekend, because I think as long as you didn't want to be at the like the heart of Main and Main, you could probably find something affordable. I take that back. It looks like it's $400 a night at Resorts World, so maybe not.
Well, here's the deal, though. Anywhere else I'm looking at to just go and chill and put my feet up, it's $1,000 a night, right? Unless I want to go to Spring Hill Suites or something like that. I mean,
really?
Anywhere on the beach, anywhere close to the Caribbean, any again worthwhile like nice resort is just Like, I just don't know where all this money, like everybody apparently just has $1,000 plus to spend a night, and I just don't. So, or I won't, I guess it's the way to say it. So,
yes. So I guess, like, do you have to be gone on New Year's Eve? Is that critical?
It's just when my parents are watching the kids. So
Got
we
it.
have
Okay.
like that time frame.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just look at the rates and just to give you an idea. So for Resorts World, as it stands on the website right now, you'd have to take, well, I'll just deduct the 20% off. So I can do math in my head. So for December 30th, you're looking at about $250 a night. For New Year's Eve, you're looking at about $500 a night. And then for January 1st, you're looking at like $120 a night.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe something I hadn't even considered before, just to chill. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, you should let me know if you go, because I will not join you.
Well, I'm pretty sure the second I mentioned this, Mrs. Kirsch would just be like, absolutely not. So I don't.
She probably has the wrong impression of Vegas, like many people. It's, like, it's not a casino city anymore. I mean, it's a casino, don't get me wrong, but a lot of other stuff. Anyway, so little tidbit too, which I learned, and I need to follow up with Hyatt just to make sure this is actually policy. But I missed by one day redeeming one of my Milestone rewards thresholds. It was the 110 night threshold where I could get another Miraval night. I missed by one day redeeming it, so I emailed my Hyatt concierge and said, "Hey, is there any way that we can, unwind this here?" And the reply was interesting, because you had the choices were Miraval free night, 10,000 points, or I think you can get like a find credit for an excursion. I just assumed, like in the olden days, when you didn't pick an award, you got the 10,000 bonus points. Like that was the default choice. What I was informed of this morning was the certificate had expired because I didn't pick a choice. But as a courtesy, they would give me the 10,000 points. So I think it's an interesting twist, and I would hope that that's not the policy, because I can't imagine you'd want to take something away from a guest because they forget to select it. Totally my bad. I did forget to select it, but I do think there should be at least a base default choice that says, look, you earned the reward. If you don't click a button, we're going to give you something. I think that's a fairly standard thing with the programs, and I would hope that that was just maybe a miscommunication from Hyatt, and that the rule is, like, you still get something if you forget to click the button.
I don't know, man.
I know.
Yeah, that's a lot of breakage that they're counting on there. I don't necessarily agree with you either. I think if they do a good job of giving you the email heads up warning, so if you miss it, then you miss it.
Boy, do I disagree with you on that one.
Yeah.
I just think it's a bad customer service. If you're willing to give that amount of value to your customer for that threshold, do you really want to risk? Keeping in mind, this is somebody who stayed with you over 100 nights a year. Do you really want to risk giving them a reason to change their loyalty because you didn't want to default to giving them 10,000 bonus points? You're not going to change your
loyalty because you didn't choose that.
But some percentage of people will. I'm not, because I'm a sucker. But some percentage of people will.
I don't know, man. I think if they give you fair warning and heads up. Now, you can't just like passively let it expire or anything, but
so you're saying you're okay with if they give you notice that you need to pick a choice and you pick no choice, you think that it's okay for them to give you nothing?
Like, you get a note when you reach the milestone, like we all do. Then they give you a warning heads up. Hey, you have X number of days to pick it. It's like, that's 2 notices for you to go in and pick the award. And then, like, you just didn't do it. That's like, I mean, there's expiration policies on not anymore, but still a lot of things in life. And like, you gotta be an engaged customer, which you're obviously not.
Hold on. Let me just check how unengaged I am. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, I am unengaged to the tune of 161 qualifying nights. That is my unengagement. I was so busy staying in their hotels, I forgot to pick my reward.
I wonder what you have to do to get courtesy card if you're at 160 nights.
I think courtesy card is just for hotel owners. I think you have to be an owner in a Hyatt property to get a courtesy card. Anyway,
find out one day.
No, you won't.
I didn't say I would get it. I just said I would find out.
All right, so let's talk through this IHG thing, because I think this is interesting. And I haven't verified this. I don't think you have either, so we need to dig in a little bit.
I did click through. It is targeted, so let's put that out there, as I've just found out.
Targeted offer, Diamond Elite Hotel status for $800 cash. Comes with 120,000 IHG points. I'm not going to go ahead and give their conversion of it, because I don't know what would you value an IHG point at? I'm going to even look up what TPG's valuations are for them.
1 IHG point? I mean, 0.4 cents per point.
So TPG says 0.5. So that sounds I think that's a 0.4, 0.5. That's fair. So
it looks like it is a buy promotion that if you buy enough IHG points right now at certain thresholds, you also get a year of status. So if you buy 40,000 points, you get gold. If you buy 60,000, you get platinum. If you buy 120,000, you get diamond elite. And apparently that will cost you $800. But again, this is targeted. There is a link for the offer. Again, if you just Google it up there, you can make it happen. And it's like buy up, basically. So the buy miles help you get there. So if you may not have to buy all, 120,000 points if you already have some qualifying points in your account.
All right. So I got a 2-part question for you. First off is, would you consider this?
Yeah. And just one other point, it looks like if you have an IHG card, you get a 20% discount. So that can drop it all the way to $640 for diamond. I wouldn't, just because
IHG credit card, you're saying, right?
Yeah. You pay with an IHG credit card. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
I just don't stay at enough IHG properties. That doesn't mean there aren't some good ones out there. I mean, there's plenty of good ones that are out there. But at most, I'm going to stay at 2 or 3 Holiday Inn Express, nights, just because I'm traveling somewhere on the go and just need a quick place to sleep. And that's just going to be the limited engagement that I have, because most of my regular destinations just have better options for me specifically.
So if I remember correctly, when we did the built offsite that I bailed on because of all the airport delays, that was the Kimpton Surfcomber?
It was Kimpton Surfcomber in Miami South Beach. Yep.
So I used that property just specifically just to give folks an idea of what the points are worth. So I think you said that you thought it was a decent hotel, right?
Yeah, decent hotel. Yeah, right there. Beachfront.
So, beachfront property, Miami Beach, good location. I pulled up some dates where we were talking, call it roughly 70,000 points a night. So if you took advantage of this offer, bought 120,000 points, you'd probably have close to enough for 2 free nights at a property, and you'd also have diamond status, just to give you like a rough idea of what this status could be worth. So, would you pay, putting it another way, would you pay $800 for 2 nights at the Kimpton Surfcomber for you and Mrs. Kerr and diamond status for the rest of the year?
Yeah, that's not a bad deal. South Beach can be expensive. Like not a bad deal. Is it enough to make me just jump up and go and grab it? No. But if I'm right. I know so many people get so much value out of the IHG because there's a hotel everywhere. The place that they go every single time they got to drive to has that Holiday Inn Express. Yep. They save up all their points from the work trips, and then when it's time to go on a family vacation, they can do a resort, they can do an Intercontinental, they can do a Kimpton, and get huge value out of it. Like that use case makes a whole lot of sense for this, and then other people just keep a stash around, for the oddball stay. So I think a pretty select customer that should or would jump on this, but we're talking about it, number one. So great job. Like always a goal of these kinds of promotions. Good job. Like creative, like the 20% off discount for co-brand card holders. Great idea. Yeah. And it's, and it's value. So again, when I think about promotions now, especially in the day job, are people going to talk about it? Even if they're not going to participate, great job should be one of the promotions. Should be a unique aspect. Should give your most engaged customers, your co-brand card holders, another reason to take advantage. And it's value. So I think it meets all the wickets of a great promotion.
Yeah, I think when I frame it up in terms of like a vacation away with the wife somewhere for a couple of nights and then I get the status, I do like I always think about buying points as should be very strategic, very intentional. I'm not a guy who buys them speculatively, and I very, 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 very rarely buy points. So, but in thinking about something like this, like, hey, let's get away to Miami Beach for the weekend, or pick any of your destinations, because like you said, IHG has just tons of hotels. Then I could see some value in this. No question, if you had an IHG co-brand card, almost becomes a no-brainer at that point to top off or buy enough points for a weekend away or something like that. So definitely something folks should consider. Like Mr. Kerr, I'm not a heavily invested in IHG program. I use them situationally, maybe once a year, but I could see like planning a weekend away with this offer. And then, you got a year's worth of diamond status that may or may not be valuable. Program was revamped, last year with the help of Jeff Zidell, one of the smartest guys in the industry. So it's definitely more valuable than it was in the past. And, I could see a potential piece of testing in 2025 if the world wasn't completely on fire for Mr. Kerr and I from a work travel standpoint.
One of the top elite statuses I have never had and have always wanted, Intercontinental Royal Ambassador.
I have never had it. Yep.
Intercontinental Royal Ambassador. Invite only. I hear it's phenomenal. My first boss that built, Mr. Dave Canty, who ran the IHG program, he was Royal Ambassador, and the way the first couple years that he traveled for built stuff and got treated at Intercontinentals and IHG was phenomenal. It's like all included mini bar in the room every day, and they refresh all kinds of stuff like that. And I don't know how to get on that invite list, but if anybody out there is listening for the Intercontinental Royal Ambassador, I'll try that bad boy out for a year. Try it on, see if it fits.
Back when you were in high school, there were some legendary threads on Flyer Talk about Royal Ambassador invite certificates and clearing out the
I remember. You for sale on eBay a few times, if I recall. Something like that. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to tie it off. If you guys are tuning in next week as well to video, watching us on YouTube, what you're going to see is the exact same outfits, because we're going to hit the stop button on this episode and we're going to record our end of year outlook for 2025 episode right after this, but you're going to have to wait an entire other week to see it, Mr. Kerr. Just the way it's got to be.
I might have my hat on backwards. I don't know. Think about it here.
Ooh, spicy and dicey. All right. Well, you're going to have to wait a week to see what Mr. Kerr does. You'll have to wait at least another week to figure out where he went for New Year's, since he's not going to figure out in the next 30 seconds between when I click end recording and we start the next one. So 2 weeks from now, find out where Mr. Kerr went for New Year's. I will be home with my family for New Year's, and I couldn't think of any place better to be after a brutal year on the road. Mr. Kerr, I can't wait to see you again in 45 seconds. But until we upload again, we've got miles to go.
It's $1,000 tonight, right?
Oh,